Well, what's up again, guys? Brian here at 3TR giving you another top list requested video to share with you guys today. This particular topic was requested by one of my viewers going by the name of Mr. Firefly, and he wanted to know what are my top 5 most disappointing video games. The funny thing about me is I'm usually pretty careful with what type of games I like to play. I usually have a good idea of whether or not it's going to be a good game, a bad game, and very few times have I actually gone into a game expecting it to be good, only to be severely disappointed. So, before I begin, I would just like to remind you guys that this is just a list of disappointing games. I do not think any of these games are bad, I just had much higher expectations, and I know some of you out there may have thought so too. So, starting off real simple with number 5 was actually, in my opinion, the very first disappointing game I ever played that I can recall in memory, and that is Final Fantasy XII. Now, in my opinion, Final Fantasy XII is not a bad game. It has enough elements to it to count it as a Final Fantasy installment. I just think that this was when the publishers and developers were really kind of starting to lose their way and weren't really sure how to redefine Final Fantasy. I mean, a lot of people like to consider that Final Fantasy X-2 was kind of when things were really starting to go to hell, and I disagree. I think this is where it started, because I mean, having a licensing system for weapons, having a very incoherent story, and then by the end, the battle system was just we just weren't ready for this type of battle system, and we may be getting something like this, a much more advanced version, come Final Fantasy XV. But the problem was that they had a lot of ideas. It just wasn't the right time to execute them this early in the franchise, and that is why I put Final Fantasy XII as number 5. Going on into number 4 is a game that I'm sure some of you guys might even be a little bit surprised of, and I picked Uncharted 3. Now, look, Uncharted is undoubtedly probably one of the most popular exclusive titles on the PlayStation library. And I'm sure after some of you guys saw the demo 15-minute demo for Uncharted 4, you guys are really pumped up. But going into Uncharted 3, I feel that its problem was that it suffers the same fate as a lot of third installments, whether it's in video games or movies. And that is that Uncharted 2 was simply too good. And I feel that Naughty Dog was trying to find a way to top it. And they just couldn't do that. The story for me was the weakest. I mean, I didn't really like the story all that much. I didn't like the villain, and I have to admit, I didn't even like the character of supposed Nathan Drake by the end of this game. Because by the end of this game, he was just a flat-out asshole and just completely unlikable. And, you know, this was just a complete character change from the character I'd been with for 2 whole games. And now I have to go with this character going into a 4th game. It's got me a little bit concerned. Now, there are a couple of high-stakes moments, but I'm just saying as an overall experience, it just didn't feel like a real significant bump up from the difference between going from 1 to 2. I mean, let's say that if 1 was like a standard book and 2 was like the total next step, I feel that 3 was just like putting a small layer, just making the game look a little bit different, but not really changing anything that had come before, not adding any of its own. So that's why I put it as number 4 on my list. Going on into number 3 is a game that I recently came out, and boy, a lot of people were really disappointed about this one. And that is Destiny. Now, I'm being honest. I didn't really expect much from Destiny because this was coming from Bungie, and my only experience with Bungie up to this point had been with Halo. And Halo was, you know, it's okay. I mean, it's certainly a franchise that I don't mind getting back into, knowing that Halo 5 Guardian is coming out, hopefully sometime next year. But you have to admit, a lot of us were expecting a lot out of Destiny, and it just could not deliver. I mean, its promotions, it was promoted as going to be the greatest online experience, and it was going to be just this vast world where you're going to go on all these crazy adventures, and it just ended up being just about 6 hours of doing the same thing, mission after mission after mission, regardless of what planet you visit, and the story was not even there. And they think the fact that they are adding these expansion packs is ridiculous. I mean, the fact that they feel the need that they have to add expansion packs in order to give you the full Destiny experience is just complete bullshit. If you cannot give me the full experience from the beginning when you first release this game, then don't release it and just wait for all these expansions to come out so I can buy the game then and then enjoy the supposed full experience. And the voice acting and storytelling in this was absolutely atrocious, and let's just hope to God that they don't repeat this mistake in future games. And that's why it's number 3 on this list. Going on into number 2 is a game that I was very, very upset with when I finished beating this game for the first time, and I even went to, this is like one of the few games I went to a midnight releasing for and got the limited collector's edition. And that is Star Wars The Force Unleashed. Now, you have to understand my disappointment. I mean, after coming off Star Wars The Force Unleashed 1, I mean, which in my opinion is the best Star Wars game of all time, and I also went to the midnight releasing of this game, you can understand that I was extremely pumped up for this game. And when I was done beating it, I was just shocked of how easy it was, how quick it was, and just kind of how just unimaginative it is. I mean, you only go from 3 places. You start from one planet, you go to another planet, then you go to a starship, then you go back to where you began, and that's the end of the game. There's only like 5 levels and a couple of glorified just cameos. I mean, just what the heck happened? I mean, it was so bad. I'm not even sure if we'll ever get a Force Unleashed 3, despite the fact that the way this game ends, I think we need something to kind of clarify how a certain character is going to escape. But that's just my opinion. I mean, I know some people might actually enjoy this. I'm not sure how. I mean, I don't think it's a bad game, but just it does not live up to the name Star Wars Force Unleashed. And that brings me to number 1. Now, this is a game that was very, very dear to me, and I was pumped up because they said it was going to be a sequel to one of my all-time favorite movies, and that is Alien Colonial Marines. Oh God, Sega and Gearbox, what were you thinking? This game was just flat out broken. I mean, apart from the fact that this is supposed to be a sequel, the aliens kind of, you know, we get to go back to the planet and get to see its results of that massive explosion in the film Aliens, and then when did this turn to like a Call of Duty shooter? I mean, next thing I know, I'm shooting human enemies instead of shooting xenomorphs, and when I am shooting xenomorphs, they're just retarded. I mean, I'm not kidding. Playing on the hardest difficulty, I didn't die once because the AI for the xenomorphs was terrible. Your AI partners are just no help at all. I mean, don't get me wrong. In terms of creating an atmosphere, it gets it right. It looks and sounds just like Aliens, but it doesn't have the heart or the feel to it. And that is what hurts the most, is that if you're going to take one of my all-time favorite movies of all time and you want to make a game based in its universe, you had better do it justice, because if you don't, you're going to piss off a lot of people. And the fact that I paid $80 to get the collector's edition, which is just in my closet here collecting dust, makes me even more angry. And that is why, to me, this is the most disappointing game that I have ever played to date. And with that is my own personal list of most disappointing games. And I really would like to know, what are some games that you found disappointing? Please tell me your list in the comments down below. And if you like this video or have any really great ideas that you think would make for a really good tops list video, please share them with me in the comments down below. And be sure to like and share this video with a couple of your friends and subscribe to keep track of my future videos. And like always, thank you guys for watching. You're awesome, and I'll see you next time.